It's the Married with Channels podcast.
Hey.
My name is Moose.
And I'm Jody.
We're a married couple. We watch TV shows and movies.
Yup.
And we have both of those in today's episode.
All the streaming services.
The streaming services, the TV shows, the movies. We got a couple and a documentary as we get into it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That always helps. Good reviews always helpful too. Appreciated. Jody, shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Severance Season 2. We just finished watching the season, 10 episodes. This show continues to be like, what?
It is a head scratcher, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. I think we're both to the point. I think you said this to me, like, I almost feel like this show is smarter than we are because we can't figure anything out. Totally.
Well, I think we've got a pretty good grasp on it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say we've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
This show is easy peasy. It's interesting, and there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But it's still good. Like, you still want to tune in every week to see, okay, what's going to happen to Mark?
Yep.
And this season was, I thought, pretty good. It was well worth the, 2-year wait?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Wow.
And it was interesting. This season was like, I finally realized, like, the innie versus the outie.
Yeah.
Like, the first season, I was like, oh, the innie's just the outie, and the outie's just the innie. But no, they're two separate people.
Yeah.
And it's, you don't really think about that. That just hit me with season 2. Like, innie Mark doesn't give a shit about outie Mark, really. I mean, he kind of does.
Yeah.
But only in the function of, like, pure biological living, breathing, and health.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting, too, because the outside world accepts them as two separate people, even though it's technically the same person.
Yeah.
It's a weird concept if you really think about it, you know, but it's also kind of like true. Like, you're a different person at work than you are at home, you know, and it's really kind of not that far off, you know, from real life there. But no,
and it's like you're talking about things about identity and self-worth and agency, you know, like, there's going to be some spoilers in this discussion, but, you know, the fact, like, it really made it clear was when outie Mark was talking to innie Mark by way of the video camera.
Yes, they had this whole dialogue together as two separate people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you had, and then I thought the most compelling subplot was Dylan and his wife.
Yes.
And Dylan and the Dylan innie and outie and his wife. And, you know, Dylan outie is kind of a loser, and he's not like a ambitious guy, and he's kind of fuddy-duddy. I'm guessing he's not the type that's going to be like, I brought you roses, sweetie, and we're going to dinner.
Yeah.
You know, whereas innie Dylan seems to be more appreciative of his wife and who she is. And boy, his wife was struggling with that, wasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that is like, and then his outie got mad, you know, at his wife, you know, like she, you know, kind of almost cheated on him.
I know.
Even though it's the same person, it's just like such a weird conundrum here, you know? Yeah,
she tells him, I kissed you, you're innie.
Yeah.
And he gets all pissed off.
Yeah.
And on the surface, you're like, but it's the same guy.
Yeah.
What's the problem here?
Yeah.
But the reality is, outie Dylan is not innie Dylan.
Right.
So, yeah. So then you're kind of like, it's a mind F, you know?
It kind of is. You can really go down a lot of rabbit holes here. And, you know, there's a who can you trust, who can you not trust element here, you know, as far as like the severed people on the severed floor and the, you know, the people of Egan, or, you know, even like, you know, Miss Cobell and her return. It's like, do you trust her or not, you know? That's
the thing. I'm glad you brought up Miss Cobell.
Yeah.
Played by Patricia Arquette.
Yes.
Do you believe she's genuinely trying to help Mark?
I think she's going to genuinely try and take them down.
take down Lumen.
Yes, they stole her ideas and all of her products and used her for her brilliant mind and her, ingenious inventions in order to have what they have. And then for them to just kind of treat her like piece of garbage to toss aside. That was that whole kind of episode in this season of her going home and, you kind of realize that, okay, that is going to be what propels her to take them down and help Mark.
And it seems like the reason she got in her car and drove back to her hometown was that meeting she had with Helena Egan in the parking lot.
Yep.
Where she essentially said, I want my job back and I want a raise or whatever. And Helena was essentially kind of shut her down.
Yeah.
And that propelled her to be like, you know what?
Yep.
I'm going back to get those drawings and schematics that I came up with that you guys stole, and I'm going to take you down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and speaking of Helena and Helly, boy, those are two different personalities, right?
Yeah, it's very strange. And because she had the ability to enter the severed floor as her outie, I'm always confused. Are we really talking, is this really Helly here, or is it?
Yeah. Well, the first couple episodes, right?
Yeah.
It was like, it wasn't Helly.
Yeah.
It was Helena.
Yeah.
So,
and I forget, how did they do that? They just have the ability to turn it off for people?
Yeah, I think they just, they probably, yeah, I mean, I guess they did. I mean, she's essentially the boss of the company.
Right.
So if she tells them, I'm going in as me.
Yeah.
Turn the thing off. Don't do the elevator.
Yeah.
Then they're probably, okay.
Sure. Well,
and it's all, of course, for Cold Harbor. So.
Well, because, Mark's character, he's got to essentially have like freaking brain surgery to like reintegrate,
Did they remove that chip?
I felt like they did, but maybe not.
I guess not.
I guess not, because he's still able to go in and out. And
right.
you'd think their tech and software would detect like that there was a problem, or he tried to have it removed or something. You'd think they'd be super tapped into these people, but maybe not. I don't know.
But he's, it's, and jumping ahead towards the end of the season, they had some very interesting developments. I mean, you're rooting for Mark to get Gemma out of there.
Yeah.
And, well, let me back up a little bit. They finished Cold Harbor.
Yeah.
And, boy, just like this show does, they give you that, interesting thing you didn't see coming. Like, for instance, the big celebration because Cold Harbor's done. Good job, Mark. You did it.
Yeah.
And now, lady and gentlemen of MDR, may I introduce choreography and merriment.
Yeah. So then there's like a marching band playing the whole time through pretty much the rest of the episode.
Which is sweet. Okay. Can I just say, like, I just loved hearing the beats and the marching band like that. I was just like, yeah. It's funny.
No, I'm not a big marching band fan, but I liked it. I appreciated the originality and freshness of it. Like, the show is so original.
It has some quirks, doesn't it?
It has some quirks, but it definitely has some original. And speaking of Mr. Milchick,
yeah,
that guy is awesome.
Yeah.
Who plays Milchick?
Yeah.
I always want to call him Mr. Milkshake.
Trammell?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Tillman.
So interesting questions with him.
Yeah.
He's been getting kind of not slapped in the face by Lumen, but a little disrespect.
Yeah, kind of put down.
Yeah. And so you kind of get the feeling like Milchick is going to turn, much like Miss Cobell did. But as of this season, he is not. He's still a good company guy.
He kind of isn't, though. He kind of was like, he kind of stood up to the big dude. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he did.
Do you remember what he said?
Oh, yeah. Consume fecula, right? Because the complaint from Mr. Drummond, the big guy, was that he uses too many big words.
Consume feculence.
Yeah. And Drummond said, say it like in English.
No, that was for the apology.
That's what I mean. Milchick was like, I apologize. He's like, say it.
Shorter.
He said, I'm sorry. And
yeah.
he said, say it again. And then Milchick pauses. And then he says, consume feculence.
So he's starting to like step into kind of his power, and like he was like, I am the manager of the severed floor.
Yeah.
And you will respect me, you know.
Like he's finding his agency.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So it's like, is he becoming more independent, more self-confident, or is he kind of slowly being chipped away at the lumen glue? You know, is that glue being dissolved a little bit with Milchick?
I don't know. There's some like, you know, working in corporate structure themes going on here too. You know, you could draw some parallels to real life corporate culture here for sure, you know. And I think he is still loyal to the company because, you know, he still tries to protect kind of the severed floor and the brand at all cost. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's let's jump to the ending of the season.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alerts. Like, tell me, if you did a poll of people who watched the Severance finale, I would bet you would have 95% of people rooting for Mark to get with Gemma, to escape with Gemma.
Absolutely. I was one of those people. I was like, no! That's especially his wife. And
yeah. And especially considering Mark Innie.
Yeah.
They're effectively going to die.
Right. And
because Cold Harbor's done.
And I'm sorry, like, I thought the reintegration made him remember that was his wife and how much he loved her.
You know, that's a good point. They didn't really touch on that much.
Yeah.
It was all about Mark reintegrating, but there wasn't much as far as, I mean, we saw Innie Mark occasionally snap into the Audi Mark world. But yeah, there was no there's no emotional context.
Right.
There's no connection to Audi Mark's world.
Also, you could still play that out. Like, let's say he had gone with what 90% of people wanted, which was he went with Gemma and he escaped. Like, you could still have him in the reintegration process be, you know, remembering those memories of loving Helly R as his Innie. And then there's that inner conflict. Like, has he cheated on his wife?
Right.
Do I like this person? You know, but, you know, like Mrs. Cobell said, you know, that person doesn't exist. Like, your relationship doesn't exist, really. Like, it's kind of a fake facade thing.
Yeah.
So,
no. Yeah. And it's so it ends with Mark S. running off with Helly.
Yeah.
They literally running down the hall as the flashing lights are going off and freeze frame.
Yeah.
End of season. It kind of had to end that way. Like, if Mark ran off with Gemma, you could probably make another season out of it, interesting wise. But I think they kind of had to end it like this because, well, they're going to just die? No, probably not.
Right.
And how are they going to, how's Innie Mark going to reconcile with essentially letting Audi Mark down?
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll be tuning in. Hopefully it's not another 2-3 years till the next season.
I don't know. This is quite the big production, though. You know, if you think about it, it's not just the severed building, those sets. It's all these kind of remote, cool locations and stuff. I think they had kind of a behind the scenes there where they're scouting out site locations and stuff like that. And so, I don't know. It's a high kind of production kind of thing. Especially things like marching bands.
Marching bands, that's like half the budget.
I know, right?
That was
a huge half
their seasonal budget right there.
Yeah.
For that last 15 minutes.
Yep, totally. So,
but Severance season 2, I think better than season 1, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we got more answers. We got more character development stories, you know, all that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
Right there. All right. Yeah. So go check it out on Apple TV Plus. Subscription required.
Yeah.
Moving on to a movie that we watched called Longlegs.
Yeah.
I saw this initially and it got some interesting buzz. Some people framed it as like a modern day Silence of the Lambs, but with kind of a twist. And I made you watch it.
You sure did.
I didn't make you, but you know, you went along with it. But
yeah, yeah, I did go along with it.
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either.
I thought it was interesting, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, same.
I was expecting kind of the serial killer Silence of the Lambs thing.
Yeah.
Which you got a little bit of, but I didn't quite expect the surrealness of it.
Same.
The kind of weirdness that came along with it.
Yes.
And usually I'm okay with that. I just didn't think it played out very well here.
I agree. I thought it was going to be more like FBI profiling and like, true crime kind of thing. And it does have some of that, but then there's like this psychic vibe and I'm just like, what?
Just
and
devil worshipping stuff.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's just,
I mean, it's different. It's not like anything I've ever seen.
Right. I didn't like the ending. I'm not going to spoil that for everybody, but I don't know.
And it's got Nicolas Cage, and he is he is Nicolas Caging the shit out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a scene. I don't know if this was in the script or if he improvised it. He's at a hardware store, and then he gets in the car and driving, and he does some Nicolas Cage stuff.
Daddy! That gross guy is back again.
Daddy! Mommy! Unmake me! And save me from the hell of living!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about Nicolas Cage. The man gives it all. Like he is all in all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, Longlegs, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a little too out there for me.
Yeah. Even me, I'm like,
yeah.
It's a pass. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, sorry.
Moving on.
Yeah, you owe me a good movie now.
You're right. Moving on to a documentary we watched, The Devil in the Family, the fall of Ruby Frank.
Ruby Frank.
Yeah.
Frankie?
Frankie?
Frank? I don't know either.
Mormon mother of 6 kids, and she started out as a YouTube success story, huge following on YouTube, making a ton of money. Then she starts like getting kind of mean and cruel and making her kids do weird crap and neglecting sleep, hygiene. And
it was just all about filming all the time. She took it way too far and really kind of became a kind of toxic, abusive parent. And then, her religion played into this as well. And then she totally kind of went a wrong path and became very abusive to her and neglectful to her children.
Yeah. So. And she hooked up with this guru who's she's a therapist. She's almost like, in a way, a female Dr. Phil. Like she's a therapist, but she doesn't have the doctorate to back it up.
Yeah.
And she's got this kind of, it made me think of, and I think we talked about this, Nexium.
Yeah.
The cult that got busted.
Yeah.
What she was doing, I forget what the service she provided, some curriculum. And it was just, it had stank of cult about it.
Yes.
And this Ruby got kind of sucked into it. And I'm not trying to blame the psychotherapist lady.
Yeah.
She was definitely a propellant, I think, for this behavior.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say propellant. She amplified it because Ruby was going downhill before she met that lady.
Yeah.
And just abusive to the kids. And the saddest part about this, and we talked about this, is like the husband went along with it.
Oh, did he ever? That was making me mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like there are still things that he said that he did not regret. And it's like, really? After all of that? Oh, Lordy. I think you should have made some different choices here, dude.
Daddy?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Those kids are messed up and it's so sad.
Well, yeah.
And most of them are going to be messed up for a long time, I'm
curious to see how the younger ones come out because they didn't show them or talk to them, but they talked to the 2 oldest kids.
Yeah.
They seem to, at least the daughter, have a good head on their shoulders.
Yes, but Trauma and abuse and neglect stay with you for life, even when you understand what it is and know that shouldn't have happened that way. It stays with you for life, and it shapes who you are as an adult, and it, isn't quickly erased just because you're removed from that situation. And so I think they're going to struggle. It sucks. You only get one childhood, and parents, you don't get do-overs, like you really can't mess that up. And
no,
some people do, disaster childhoods for their kids. So
no, and it was, like you said, those kids are going to have to deal with this for a while. But luckily they seem to have good heads on their shoulders. They'll be able to navigate it.
Yeah. And
thoughtfully.
Probably with therapy and time and, some wins in their own personal life and success stories of their own, their own beliefs, identities. All of that is reshaped now that they are kind of out of that situation. It's kind of nice that this is coming to light so that maybe other people who are, experiencing that cult-like religious brainwashing can get help, or, if a kid is experiencing neglect or abandonment, maybe they can get some help.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a interesting story, and you could kind of see that shift change in this mom, this Ruby Franke, that like there is a turning point where she stopped putting her kids' needs first and stopped listening to them and what they wanted and what they didn't want, and kind of forced them to film and then try to dangle the money. Like, what kid is going to say no to money? you know?
It seemed like that was going on pretty soon after she started the YouTube channel.
Yes.
It wasn't like she started doing that after they reached 1 million subscribers.
Right.
It was like, very controlling and like just mean. And it was, I don't know how you live a life like that where you're taping everything.
Well, it's definitely a double life. I mean, they showed you the footage of her being nasty. You only see the good parts, you know?
You got to imagine that's hard to keep up. Like, how do you maintain that? That's like, it's almost like working 24/7.
Yeah.
And I get it. You're filming.
Yeah.
And that's not super hard. You're not pounding railroad ties 24/7, but still you got to be on, you got to be focused. You're thinking about, you're editing on the fly. Oh, that shirt's not going to work,
Yeah.
Oh, that would just be so exhausting.
Yeah. You are your own production crew of a whole thing, essentially. Yeah. It is a lot. And, this person made it their full-time job and their family's full-time job. And, some people can do that and it's great and still have a life, I just think this person had the personality to take it way too far. And, then you mix in some religious stuff and somebody else influencing, how you treat your children. Like, ooh, not good.
It's a fascinating story.
It is.
And I think everybody should check it out.
I agree.
Devil in the Family, The Fall of Ruby Franke.
Yes.
It is on Hulu. You should definitely go check it out.
Okay.
I think that's going to do it for us.
Yep.
On this Married with Channels podcast.
Yeah.
As we try to get back into some more episodes.
Yeah.
My name is Moose.
And I'm Jody.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Give us a good review. That's always appreciated.
Share. Tell your friends.
Until next time, we'll see you.
Bye.